Welcome everyone to the 2015 Bank of America 500 at Charlotte race review, where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race. And I guess this is where I should give my overall thoughts on the race. I could say many different things about this race. I could put it as boring. I could put it as weird. I could put it as unexpected. I could put it as special treat. And I could probably go, and maybe I could go on and on. But overall, I think maybe like the race itself was pretty poor. Maybe even worse. Maybe even worse than the 600. I mean, at least like in the close to 600, there were at least like different points in the race where drivers were leading. This time it just completely felt like that after Kenseth decided to pit and Logano stayed out, it was clearly the Joe Logano show. He led a total of 227 laps. Kenseth led 72, but the thing is, all those came, I think in the first like 80 something laps or 70. And the thing is, I kind of can't believe I'm saying this, but the thing is, the only other driver that led laps in double digits, Sam Hornish Jr. He led 20 laps. But the thing is, a lot of that had to do with him being on some sort of like interesting strategy that didn't make like that much sense to me. So overall, because of that, I think that's what made this race a little poor. It was nice to see a race though at Charlotte in the daytime. I appreciate that. And the thing is, there were many events, especially in the middle of the race. It definitely caught me off guard when it comes to like oil on the racetrack or chasers having problems or and there was even like a strange situation on pit road involving the second and third place car. And I'll get into that all in a moment. One of the reasons why I think the racing was pretty poor, honestly, is that yes, Logano has a strong car. I think also it's this 2015 rules package, and I think this package at Charlotte is just simply like a bad combination, in my opinion. And I think one of the reasons why is because Charlotte Motor Speedway, it just simply has a surface that doesn't seem to want to age. Even though the last time it was repaved was 2006, almost 10 years ago. And chances are they're probably not bringing in tires that really help the package and work for racetrack as well. So that might also be a reason. Hopefully, when 2016 rolls around, and because I've seen reports and have said, in this series before, and because I've said before over the past few or several weeks that the low hours package should be expected on at least the mile and a half racetracks. Hopefully that'll make races at Charlotte a lot more better. And honestly, I would like to see that, because honestly, I think that especially at a track like Charlotte, whether the last restart is on lap 150 or whether the last restart is with like whether the last restart is with like 5 laps to go. It seems like the race is always one off turn number 2 at this racetrack for some reason. I don't exactly know why, but to me it seems like that's just always the case because of these aerosensitive race cars. And overall, with the exception of the truck race back in May, that's kind of been Charlotte Motor Speedway this entire season in all 3 series, with the exception of the truck series, which actually the truck series, they don't have the issues. And for example, it led to a great side-by-side finish with Casey Kane and Eric Jones. I think like 5/1000 of a second. It was like that close. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about truck races or what series is better. I'm here to talk about this race. And so let's now get into what happened before the race. This race was supposed to be the first and only night race in the chase. And the thing is, one thing that kind of maybe gets me a little bit about that whole only night race in the chase is how, like, it's not exactly. I mean, the thing is, like, it starts at night and ends at night. But the thing is, like, Texas and Homestead, their chase races, they start in the day and end at night. But anyway, Richard Petty Motorsports is going to continue to go forwards, and I think that this is a good move There were rumors a couple months ago saying that they could go to Toyotas, but I think Ford. But I think going to Ford is probably the best idea, and with Eric Almirola actually making some improvements, I think that's probably a good thing to do for now and for years to come. CEO Brian Moffitt says that sponsorship and possibly a new driver for the 9 car, currently driven by Sam Marks Jr., is also in the making. And to me, I'm sure some saw us coming, or many saw us coming, but I think Sam Marks Jr. is probably not going to be in that car. And there have already been some rumors like Regan Smith or David Reagan, and maybe even like Justin Allgaier, maybe driving that car in the future. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting as silly season continues. And also several drivers lost 15 minutes of practice. Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch, Yaley, Annette, Bain, Truex, Harvick, and McDowell. And just like the past several years, during the month of October, several drivers and teams have pink on their cars or uniforms. And we also have a crew chief change. Todd Parrott, who I believe has been a successful crew chief for years with different drivers, is going to be the crew chief for A.J. Allmendinger, replacing Brian Burns. I think he worked on the cars for JTG Racing before. But now this time he's going to return to his role as a crew chief, and I think that this should be a good move because I think like Allmendinger and Brian Burns have just not been that great of a driver and crew chief combination. And I think even though, I mean, obviously this season Allmendinger does not have a win yet, and he's probably not going to get a win with only a couple races remaining. But I think like Allmendinger, there's something about Allmendinger this season. It just seems to be a little bit off compared to last season. But anyway, now let's get into the weekend. And the thing is, like I said last week, I'm going to try to make this short. Harvick wins opening practice. Kansas won the pole. Kurt Busch is the fastest in practice number 2. Kyle Busch is fastest in final practice. And due to heavy rain on Saturday, which some people saw coming, and others had their predictions off, that postponed like today's race from last night to today. And the thing is, it would be moved from NBC to NBC Sports Network, unfortunately. And the thing is, the reason why that's not good, for those who don't know, is that NBC Sports Network is a cable channel, and cable channels do not have as many people as basic channels like NBC does. So unfortunately, that's not gonna help. That's not gonna help the Rays, and it's probably not gonna help Kansas. Because that race is going to be on NBC. And with this race having to be postponed, I think it's going to make some people confused. But anyway, so today's race was actually the first at Charlotte. It was the first Sprint Cup race at Charlotte under the daytime since 2009. But the thing is, it was the 2009 Coca-Cola 600. But the thing is, that race was postponed from Sunday to Monday. The last time in the fall, 2002. But the thing is, that race was delayed. And made it a late afternoon to late afternoon and into the night type of race. But because last time it started and ended at day 2001, so it's definitely been a long time. And with these teams that were prepared to race in the night, and with the drivers, and with Sean Mosby, and with day races generally having like the groove. It gets wider, faster, and the track is more slick. So the thing is, we see more drivers struggling to fight with the race cars. It definitely can make the race really interesting. And the thing is, the race already got to a bit of an unusual start, with Jeff Byrne running into the back of someone. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Cole Witt. And that created debris. And so the thing is, caution already came out on lap number 1, just past the start-finish line. And pretty much every time we had a restart, whether it was Kenseth or Logano, Kenseth or Logano or whoever always got, I believe, they easily were able to pull away. And we saw that with Kenseth. And the thing is, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then we had the competition caution on lap number 25, and this will be our second caution. Pit stops. Kenseth leads them off pit road. Restart lap 31, and eventually, and then lap number 42. The first of what would be, I think, several times the leader. Not the leaders. The thing is, drivers eventually hitting the wall. We saw it several times, and the first I noticed was Casey Kane, who was running around 12th, running at one of his best career racetracks. And the thing is, he hits the wall, makes an unscheduled pit stop, and then about 20 laps later, he pounds the wall in turns 1 and 2. And his day would be over. He finishes dead last once again, and so a very tough break for him and that team. And eventually we had pit stops. Kenseth leads. Restart. Number 66. And Matt Kenseth. It was interesting. The first couple restarts, he chose the outside, but the thing is, this time around, he actually chose the inside. And the thing is, he was able to pull away. Logano moved into second place, and this should be the first time that I saw Logano move into the picture. And eventually, a couple laps later, some contact involving chasers. Entering turn number 1, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards racing for about 10th place. Entering turn number 1, I don't think Dale Earnhardt Jr. saw Carl Edwards down there and came down, but the thing is, at the same time, Carl Edwards also chose not to lift because Carl Edwards says that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was throwing some blocks on him earlier. And so the thing is, the two make contact. Jr. ends up losing the battle. Hits the outside wall pretty good, and eventually is just dropping like a rock. A couple laps later, caution number 4 comes out for debris, most likely from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Minimal damage. They would have to go one lap down, and this really put them in a hole. And we weren't even halfway through the first race, and the first of three races in the Challenger round. And anyway, this is where I guess you could say the winning moment. Some stay out while others stay in. Logano, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Jimmy Johnson, Brian Lee, Sam Morris Jr., and Nick Patrick, they all stayed out. And in the first 5 behind them, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Truex Jr., David Ragan, and Ryan Newman, they all took 2 tires. Kenseth was the first driver on 4 tires restarting 13th. But the thing is, some of that had to do with the fact that his team had a pretty slow pit stop. Restart lap number 81. And eventually, because of some of the drivers, I guess having problems getting going, and with some of the drivers on older tires like Sam Morris Jr., it really created like a mess in the middle of the pack, and some drivers were actually able to take advantage of that. Harvick, Hamlin, and Larson all quickly got themselves into the top 5 pretty quickly. And drivers like Kenseth, Newman, and Edwards all got stuck in the back. And very quickly, Logano was able to pull away. And then for a while right there, the field just kind of like it was all very stationary. There were a couple of non-chasers like Johnson, who got eliminated last week, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Eric were all in the top 10, and so that made the running order a bit interesting. Ryan Blaney was also having a pretty impressive day into the top 10 throughout a good portion of this race. Boyer was also into the top 10 at one point. And eventually we had some pit stops, and actually just before the pit stops happened, Tony Stewart smacked the wall. And so after the green flag pit stops, or at least during the green flag pit stops, Johnson led, Larson led, and Edwards all led laps. All right. Jeff Gordon also led a lap, I believe. And then Logano got the lead back. And meanwhile, some drivers they were hoping for a caution to come out, like Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Landon Castle. The thing is, it did not work for them. And the thing is, both of them, but especially Junior, really, as Steve Letarte said, made a bad situation even worse. And I don't think this is actually like mentioned during the broadcast, but actually Paul Menard actually hit the wall on lap 134, and I found this on Lapid Love coverage on NASCAR.com. And the thing is, I think they actually had to go behind the wall or something, because the thing is, they finished. Fine. they did not go behind the wall. But the thing is, they were sort of maybe more off the pace than usual. They would finish 36. It's the thing is with Bernard being someone who was in the chase last round. It was a bit interesting about how NBC did not pick that up. I believe. Anyway, and also this is also a part of the race where one thing I noticed is how, to me, like, it seemed like lap traffic to influence on whether your lead grew or shrank. Because to me, Logano leading, Kyle Busch in second. When Logano was stuck in lap traffic, Kyle Busch gained. When Logano cleared the lap traffic, Kyle Busch wasn't able to close in. But anyway, we would continue to be under green up until lap number 168. Caution number 5 for Logano on the backstretch, and then we have pit stops. Logano won the race up pit road. Matt Kenseth had another slow pit stop, and the thing is something had to be wrong, because the thing is eventually they would restart 20th. And that definitely caught me off guard. And one thing I also don't think was mentioned, and this is another one of our chasers, Jeff Gordon, being told to save fuel. So maybe they didn't get in full. I don't really know. Anyway, restart on lap 174. And so the thing is, just like the last restart, some drivers, I think, checked up in the middle of the pack, kind of got a little wild. And eventually, a couple laps later, Matt Kenseth's bad luck continues. As he was trying to go in the middle of a 3-wide situation, Stenhouse on the bottom, Ryan Newman on top. And I guess he thought Newman was clear, but the thing is, he was not. The two that made contact off turn number 4, both hard into the outside wall. We'll find Kenseth took a pretty hard look at the outside wall. Newman was more slight damage, and actually, the two that actually made contact in the quad oval, and it actually could have caused a big wreck, but thankfully it wasn't. Darren Wiggin also got some slight damage in it as well, and so Matt Kenseth, he would just get a lot more damage, and this really puts him. And that really put him in a really bad spot. And okay, so what's next in my notes? Okay, so Kenseth would pay, Ryan Newman will also pay, and probably a couple others. Anyway, restart level 182. Joe Logano and Kyle Larson, who could actually have passed Jimmy Johnson on the restart prior to this one, and it was actually a pretty even restart, which was something that I don't think we actually saw for the rest of the day. And the thing is, maybe had we completed a lap or two after the restart, who knows? Maybe Larson would have been able to hang in and maybe pass Logano, because the thing is, he was actually right on Logano's right side, entering turns 1 and 2. But the thing is, we will never know, because why? Well, the thing is, on the restart, not Michael McDowell, Justin Allgaier ran into the back of Michael McDowell, and it would create a lot of smoke, and so chances are Allgaier maybe broke an oil liner or whatever it's exactly called. A lot of smoke, just simply covering the front stretch in turns 1 and 2 with a bunch of oil. And then, and thing is, one thing that NBC pointed out was to me, when you make the restart box bigger, the leader has more of a choice and sort of more freedom to go at any time he or she wants to go. And so because of that, it can make it maybe a bit more trickier for the drivers behind him to know. And obviously, the further you are behind, you don't really have as much reaction time. And to me, I think it leads to these types of situations. But also, it's not that unfamiliar to see these types of issues at Charlotte. Ever since I started watching NASCAR, I can recall at least a couple times where we actually had calamity coming to the restart, and sometimes it actually resulted in some pretty big wrecks. And then Okay, fine. I'm just looking at my notes here. But anyway, here we go. Restart on lap 190. And very shortly after that, drivers all of a sudden were slipping and sliding a little bit more than usual. And the thing is, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had hit the wall. Keselowski hit the wall. Sam Morris Jr. also hit the wall. And I think is this would bring out the caution a couple laps later, up 194, because of fluid. Now the thing is before this caution came out, they laid down the speed dry, and they actually had an official out there walking on the pavement to see if there was oil. And the thing is, after the race was over, drivers like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch, and maybe even a couple of other drivers were complaining about this. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was definitely very vocal about it, because the thing is, that would cause a lot more damage and put Dale Earnhardt Jr. in even a deeper hole, not only in the race but also in the chase. And the thing is, to me, this is not the first time the NASCAR has decided to basically wave the green flag, and all of a sudden the racing at Oval. I can actually recall the 2004 Dover Spring Race. Casey Mears was dropping a lot of fluid for almost a full lap. But in NASCAR, they're not through the caution, and all of a sudden, once all the layers went down into turn 3 and 4, many of them slid up the racetrack, and some of them even crashed. Most notably, Casey Kane, who was on the way to get his first career victory. And so the thing is, this is not the first time. And the thing is, racing with oval racetrack is definitely not a good thing for ovals. I think on road courses, as the 2012 finish proved, things can get a little bit exciting. Things can get a little bit exciting, and maybe that's when NASCAR gives the teams maybe more of a free pass. But the thing is, you definitely do not want to be racing on oil or any type of supporting fluid on oil racetracks. That's just my opinion. But anyway, so after this caution came out, pit stops, the period opened, and then it led to maybe one of the strangest, weirdest, and maybe one of the most unpredictable events of the season, and especially this race. I don't think anyone saw us coming. So here's what happened. So coming down the road, some chose to stay out, others chose to stay in. Kyle Busch comes down the road. Kyle Larson stays out, or at least that's what it looked like. That's what we first saw. And then all of a sudden, at the last second, two things happen. Kyle Larson actually chooses to pit, and Kyle Busch decides to fake it. And all of a sudden, they collide into each other. And the thing is, Larson spins, and Kyle Busch actually has some pretty significant damage on the right front. Kyle Larson has significant damage on the right rear. And the thing is, this would definitely hurt their days for the remainder of this race, and especially for Kyle Busch, who's in the chase. This definitely did not help it at all. But the thing is, honestly, I actually cannot remember the last time this actually happened, and I don't know if I've actually maybe have ever seen this since I started watching in the fall of 07. It was just a very strange situation, and if I have to assign blame, I think Larson and his crew chief, or Larson and his spotter, should have been communicating better, because the thing is, even if Kyle Busch was not there, Larson still would not have made the pit road anyway. He would have hit the command cone, most likely. The thing is, because of that. I think there should have been better communication. It was just good, and obviously, this ruined Kyle Busch's chances from winning the race, or at least getting a great points day, and Kyle Larson's chance to get his first career victory. And I actually thought that Larson could have won today, maybe, because to me it was definitely one of the most impressive runs, starting in 31st and getting his way all the way up to second, and at one point for a brief moment actually challenging Joe Logano. But anyway, so we had the restart. I think it was Logano and Johnson 1-2. Logano pulls away, and all of a sudden here comes Kevin Harvick. All of a sudden in his second spot. So sometimes Kevin Harvick may not always be good at the beginning of the race because earlier in the race, like the first half, Harvick maybe at best was like a was like an 8th place car. But the thing is, the team definitely made adjustments. Harvick was definitely going to the front, got his way all the way up to second. And the thing is, more problems for the chasers. Matt Kenseth goes to pit road after dropping positions like a rock with suspension issues. He would later get the black flag on lap 211. And the thing is, there were actually still some things, even on NASCAR, when they never throw out the caution again for fluid, there were actually still several reports of fluid, and I think actually at one point during this green flag run, Kyle Busch smacked the wall. And the thing is, two drivers that were actually having some pretty quiet days and maybe didn't get mentioned as much as I thought they would be. Truex Jr. and Hamlin were running 5th and 4th. Clint Boyer Clint Boyer, Ryan Blaney, and Jeff Gordon were actually all able. They were actually all racing for about 10th at one point, and so there were some good battles behind the leaders. And actually, Brett Keselowski in his post-race interview actually said that like Jeff Gordon was actually one of the few drivers to actually pass. And actually, both him and Jeff Gordon, they both started their days very mediocre. But the thing is, they're actually able to actually make, I think for them, based on this race, some pretty good adjustments, and all of a sudden they were now like top 10 cars. And when other drivers are struggling, their finishes are definitely going to help them a lot. Anyway, we had some green flag pit stops. Austin Dillon led, Gordon led, Boyer led, and then Sam Horner Jr. Led. And the thing is, Sam Horner Jr. was hoping for a caution, and the thing is, just before he came down to pit road on lap 240, caution number 9. Matt Kenseth pounds the wall in turns 3 and 4, and definitely went to the garage. His day will be over. And so the thing is, this would cause Kenseth to finish even worse. He finishes 42nd. He is now 31 points or 32 points off the cutoff. That's actually a bigger hole than Kevin Harvick after Chicagoland. So Kenseth, he's almost now Kenseth is almost like for surely in the must-win situation entering Kansas, and with Talladega being like being like the ultimate wild card. Kenseth, Kenseth might need some help. I'm not going to completely write off Kenseth, but to me, he's definitely in some very big trouble. Anyway, so after this caution, Sam Horner Jr. finally came down the road. Logano regained the lead. Restart lap 247. And the thing is, from this point on, never in this race again would Logano be able to completely pull away. Harvick was doing a good job at keeping Logano out of his sights, and I think on some runs, and I think at some points during the long green flag runs, Harvick actually had a faster car than Logano. And about 10 laps after this restart, more problems for Jimmy Johnson. He's not in the chase anymore, but to me, it was very difficult. At least it was sort of sad to see this happen to him. He either had electrical issues or he blew his motor, because the thing is, he was running third. All of a sudden, coming out turn 2, it all goes out in smoke. But strangely, NASCAR did not put the caution, which kind of surprised me. Maybe Johnson got out of the way in time. As Johnson would go behind the wall, and another dismal finish, 39th. Ouch. and thing is, this long green flag run would just simply continue. And thing is, during this moment, like the intensity and the craziness, it just dropped off a lot. And thing is, there wasn't just like there just was not like that much happening. Green flag pit stops left 283. And actually, on lap left coverage, they actually said like possibly final green flag pit stops. And when I first read that, I actually thought that like maybe, just maybe, they're sort of hinting that some drivers are going to have to save fuel. And I actually thought that like if this race ended up being the few miles race, things definitely could have gone very, very crazy. But chances are the race probably needed to be maybe like 10 or 14 or 15 laps longer, maybe. I actually don't know the fuel window. My best guess is like 50 to like 55 or to 65 laps. Like that's my best guess. And the thing is, possibly it was these final green flag pit stops that might have decided the race. Harvick pits one lap before Joey, but the thing is, Harvick and Danica actually exited the pits at the exact same time. And the thing is, these two are teammates. And the thing is, Danica decides to she actually does not let Harvick go by. Danica actually decided to race Harvick, and the thing is, the rules is to be coming up pit road, you have to race each other 2 turn 1, and the thing is, once you get into turns 1 and 2, you cannot pass the drivers ahead of you. And so the thing is, because Danica decided to race Harvick, and because Danica was on the inside, obviously she got the advantage. And the thing is, it was possibly that reason that cost Harvick the win. Because the thing is, by the time Harvick came out onto the pits, he actually got very close to Joe Logano. But the thing is, was never able to pass him, or even get alongside of him. And maybe, who knows? Maybe if Danica had let Harvick go by, it would have given Harvick that little extra time that he needed to get alongside Logano and then pass him. And that might have just been the deciding factor in all of this. But anyway, but before Logano actually got the lead, Sam Hortons Jr. actually led 15 laps, and then Logano would actually regain the lead on lap number 300, and he would keep the lead for the remainder of the race. And just simply between that and the checkered flag, the gap just sort of got bigger and it got closer. It got bigger and it got closer, and kept on doing that for that entire run. While it was nice to see that Harvick was not going to let Logano out of his sights as a fan, I would have hoped that Harvick would have had a chance to at least get on Joey's bumper. It may be race side by side, and maybe who knows, passing. I would have hoped that we could have seen that, but it just simply just was not meant to be. And by the time, and actually, with less than 10 laps to go, at around 8, Logano's lead had grown to an all-time high with Harvick in second by about 2 seconds. But then all of a sudden, with about 4 laps to go, Logano's lead actually started shrinking. And thing is, I think probably some of that had to do with the fact that the Logano was getting held up by a lot of traffic, most likely. Because the thing is, by the time Logano took the checkered flag, Harvick was actually about 0.7 of a second off. And the thing is, if the trend would have continued, had there been another lap, Harvick could have been on the bumper. And thing is, actually, even though Rick Allen said that both of those drivers had enough fuel, There was just still this like part in the back of my brain that actually thought like, is something actually going to happen to Logano that catches the off guard? But it didn't happen. Logano takes the ticker flag, 4th win of this season, first at Charlotte, the most laps he's ever led at Charlotte. And the thing is, he now has a streak of 9 consecutive top 10 finishes, the longest ever in his career. And the thing is, with this win, Logano advances into the 3rd round. So the thing is, Logano is going to be one of the few chasers that is going to have all this pressure and all the stress taken off him by the time they get to Talladega, where anything can happen in a matter of seconds. And Logano, he actually did this exact same thing one season ago. But the thing is, one big difference is that last season, the first race that opened the Challenger round was Kansas. This time it was Charlotte. And honestly, here's something interesting. So the thing is, in last year's Challenger round, Logano won the first race, and Harvick won the second race. And the thing is, last season the second race was in Charlotte. So maybe, who knows? Is Harvick going to win next week at Kansas? It would be kind of funny to me, and kind of maybe a bit ironic if that's how you use that word. But similarly, Logano's good. But the thing is, I don't really think entering Kansas, anyone is still safe. Even drivers like Harvick, Truex, Hamlin, and Kurt Busch, and Carl Edwards, who finished 2nd through 6th. I still don't think anyone with the exception of Logano is safe. And the thing is, especially if you're someone like Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Matt Kenseth, you're almost going to have to be in a must-win situation. So you better bring it to Kansas. And last season's fall race at Kansas, things definitely got the race definitely had its crazy and maybe unexpected moments. A couple of tire failures, some multi-car incidents, I believe. And overall, at Kansas, and this has been all stuff that we've seen a lot of ever since the repave 3 years ago. And so overall, Kansas is definitely going to be an interesting race. And the thing is, it's just going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. Who do I think is going to win at Kansas? Well, to me, if Logano in this win, Logano has nothing to lose. So who knows? And plus, the thing is, if Logano actually wins next week at Kansas, he's actually going to take away a win in a guaranteed spot into the 3rd round from another one of the chasers, which can make Talladega even more interesting. And so to me, I think Logano will be strong. Harvick, he had one of the best cars there back in May. And the thing is, I think if we're gonna have I think that if we're gonna have a non-chaser spoil the party, I'm gonna put my money on 2 drivers. Jimmy Johnson with the help of his strategy, and being able, after making several adjustments, they were able to win back in May. And the thing is, Larson, who as of recently is starting to get back going again and starting to be really competitive, and maybe Larson could get that first win, maybe at Kansas, if it's going to be a non-chooser. And overall, Kansas is just simply going, like I said, it's going to be very interesting to watch. And overall, and speaking of watching, I hope you enjoyed watching this race review. It's not as short as I thought it might be, but it's definitely better compared to the 2 or 3 takes before this, which were just a mess. Anyway, thank you for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.